Hey guys, good morning. Joe Madden here. This is the Joe Madden Sports Show. I am joined this morning by Ben Heisler, managing editor for Minute Media, BetSided. Ben, happy Monday. How's it going today?
Happy Monday, Joe. It's exciting to be on with you. Appreciate the opportunity to talk a little sports betting and have some fun.
Yeah, I'm excited for today. We're going to talk tonight some Monday Night Football and everything that you have going on. Let's start firstly. How did you get started in this crazy industry?
I kind of jumped around and went sort of in an unusual way into sports betting. I always wanted to be a talk radio host. For a long time, I grew up in Chicago with 670 The Score and ESPN 1000 is sort of like this huge behemoth of like sports talk giants growing up. And I always thought that was going to be what I wanted to do. And I kind of bounced around a couple different markets, started in DC as a producer, worked my way here into Kansas City, which is where I currently live and have been now for the last 8.5 years. And, enjoyed my time both as a producer and as an on-air talent. But then just kind of wanted to try some new things, trying to feel like I could grow a little bit. So dove into the daily fantasy sports industry. That all started by getting a chance to host a fantasy sports talk show on Sunday mornings in Kansas City. Parlayed that, pun, I guess, suppose unintended there, but turned that into an opportunity to work for a startup in the space. Then we lost our funding. I ended up getting seen by somebody at Sports Illustrated for just sort of an external event that I was doing. We ended up getting connected, worked there for a little more than a year covering fantasy sports and sports betting. And then Minute Media and BetSided reached out to me. They were looking for someone to be the managing editor for sort of a similar type of startup in the space. And I couldn't be happier with the team that we have over at BetSided. Some fantastic people on our team, really knowledgeable, but just more importantly, just thoughtful, insightful betting writers and editors that I think for anybody that's had a chance to check out the site, they don't feel like it's anything that's going to be overwhelming or incredibly analytical. BetSided's sort of motto kind of was, well, we want to be sort of your informed friend that you text 30 minutes before the game starts going, I really want to bet this game, but I'm not really sure who I should bet on. Any thoughts, any ideas? And we've seen to grow pretty nicely over the last, I guess, 15, 16 months or so.
Yeah, that is a fantastic concept, being that friend that you're just getting that message from. Great work with everything you've got going over there. What's your favorite part of working with them and what you do now?
My favorite part as far as what I do with the team, or just sort of my favorite part in general about sports betting?
Yeah.
I mean, our team just is fun. Like it's youthful. I'm kind of the old guy now on the team. I'm 30, I guess soon to be 35. They're all in their mid to late 20s. They just have so much energy and they have so much passion for the space that it's easy to really get behind them and find areas where we can create unique and meaningful content that we think is going to, be substantial in the space and be a little bit different. I think what's fun about working in sports betting, initially I kind of thought, okay, well, working in fantasy, like you can really dive into a lot of the different concrete numbers and you can tell a story every time. With gambling, it's just, is a team going to win? Is a team going to lose? Are they going to cover? And that was when I first got in. I didn't realize to the certain extent that this market would blow up. And now you're creating all sorts of conversations about the game through betting. You're telling different stories about how the market is evaluating what that team is going to do that week. All throughout the week, everything is constantly evolving. And even though it's still at its core about who's going to cover the spread, who's going to win straight up or who's going to lose, and what's the total points going to be, there's so many different fun variations to it now that it's just made it for kind of a whirlwind area. And I love it.
I love it too, except some days you start looking at your bet slips going, oh my God, I really have that many bets on this game with all the different ways we can take things. Now, I know you're in KC. What was your takeaways from the Chiefs and the Bucks game last night, Ben?
My big takeaway was that Patrick Mahomes keeps receipts. And I think here in Kansas City, we kind of forgot about that for a little bit. I'm a Bears fan, Joe, and I'm just waiting. Like, I hope I don't reach my deathbed till I see a real substantial quarterback where we're not comparing the quarterback of the Chicago Bears to the best quarterback in franchise history who played in the 1950s before the Super Bowl era. Like, I have two young boys, and I've said, like, I want them to be Chiefs fans because I want them to have Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback growing up. Like, can you imagine how fun that must be to have one of the great quarterback talents of this generation being able to play right in your backyard? So I think locally, everyone's kind of become a little bit numb to it at times. Like, he has spoiled Kansas City. And for a long time, they were kind of in that same boat as us Bears fans, where they were waiting and waiting for something substantial. Andy Reid comes along, then Alex Smith comes along, and you start to feel like it's close, but not the guy that can take them to the next step. And I think what he saw was a guy that had revenge on his mind coming back into Tampa, where they lost the Super Bowl against that same Buccaneers team. And they wanted to prove everybody wrong. They knew that there was some chatter coming in from Tampa Bay, that their offensive line had been struggling. They protected Mahomes well. He continued to flash those moments of brilliance that you just don't see from anybody else on the field. Just a game that they were able to walk on their field, trounce them, and feel and hold their head up a little bit taller that night.
Yeah, it was one of those games you did not want to be against Mahomes in that one. He just had a phenomenal game. I hate that he's in the AFC West because I'm a Chargers fan. But let's go back to you being a Bears fan. Justin Fields, I hear what you're saying. He's not a Mahomes. Came out of the Buckeyes. High hopes for him. Do you think with different style coaching, Justin Fields could be a better player? What are you thinking for him?
I still cautiously optimistic, and maybe I'm starting to be in the minority there. I know that most Bears fans entering the season, Joe, were like, okay, it can't be worse than what we saw from the Matt Nagy era. And to a certain extent, I agree. Nagy had come from Andy Reid for all those years, and he basically thought, okay, I'm going to take this Bears roster of just guys that are not too good and turn them into my version of the Chiefs. And that doesn't work. You need to have the playmakers in the roster that allow that construction to happen. And so he was just trying to take the square peg, plug it in the round hole. It just wasn't going to work out for him. I think Fields is bought in to what this new coaching staff has sold him. And I think they told him too, like, look, this year is purely about development. We're not expecting you to all of a sudden become a franchise quarterback overnight. We need to see everything around us. We're going to have a ton of cap space next year. Yeah. So if we feel like everything is moving in the right direction, we'll go get you that number one wide receiver. We'll go get you some more help on the offensive line. We'll get some more playmakers on this team. And I think Fields is still just at a point where he's learning the offense. He's trying to get some bad habits of hanging onto the football, tucking and run, but without seeing the field. He's going to get there. I think the talent at some point outweighs what we've seen on the field. He's too talented to look this poor. And I think with his buy-in and the teammates that he has buying into what he can do, it's just going to take some time. It's not going to be like a Josh Allen arc or anything, but I think by year 3, you'll start to see Fields really start to look like the quarterback that they maybe hoped he would be, as opposed to a guy that's just nowhere close. I do expect him to be a very good quarterback at some point.
Well, we saw him so good in college, but you look at the playmakers around him in college, and I think that's the hardest struggle for these quarterbacks coming out of these top teams. They have all the key elements around them. So huge difference when they get drafted to a team that went high in the draft and were able to get them. Your Bears play the Vikings next Sunday. Oh, man, that is going to be a tough one. Any early thoughts on this one? The Vikings, I'm seeing a 7-point favorite here.
Yeah, I think we'll see this line maybe creep to 7.5. And if that's the case, I'll probably end up taking Chicago. One thing I will say about the Bears defense, and it's frustrating to always be talking about the Bears defense as opposed to their offense. Yep. But they've made a lot of really good second half adjustments. There's been multiple games where they haven't given up a touchdown in the second half. They've taken the ball away. That's been a principle of Matt Eberflus from his time in Indianapolis. Like, they preach turnovers. It's very similar to what Chicago had all those years under Lovie Smith, which is you knew that team was going to take the ball away. They were going to be opportunistic with turnovers. So you have a quarterback in Kirk Cousins who's known to throw a few every so often. Yeah. Now they have some dangerous weapons and they have a very good running game, and the Bears have not been able to stop the run. So could be a big week for Dalvin Cook, but they're coming back from London. Yes, they're going back home, but they've seemed to play Kirk Cousins fairly well over his career. So a touchdown kind of feels like the right number here, but I just think so many people are down on Chicago that if this line moves, 7.5 feels like very good value for a defense that's going to keep Chicago in the game. And conversely, the Bears have been able to run the football and the Vikings have not been able to stop the run. So big opportunity for Khalil Herbert. Justin Fields might get some carries. We'll see if David Montgomery is healthy. I think this will be a little bit closer than most people anticipate.
I love your early take on this game. You guys, that is Sunday, October 9th. Let's jump into tonight's Monday Night Football, talking about a quarterback that's known to throw some interceptions. We have Matt Stafford and the LA Rams taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Anything that you're betting on this one that you can give us?
Yeah, a couple that I like for tonight. I know that Kyle Shanahan historically as a home favorite has not fared particularly well, but Jimmy Garoppolo on the other side against over 500 teams in his career has been terrific. And the 49ers are one of those teams too, Joe, that I think week to week, it's hard to get a grasp on really what they are. I don't think they were as bad as what we saw on the road against Denver last week. It's kind of the perfect storm. It was Garoppolo's first week after Trey Lance went down. Nobody was really on the same page in that game, and Denver's defense really showed up to play. I think they'll play better against the Rams, especially defensively. The Rams front five, protecting Matthew Stafford, they're dealing with some injuries. Stafford still doesn't look like he's 100%. One of my favorite bets for that game is actually for Matthew Stafford to throw an interception.
Love it.
There's some books that have it fairly high up, minus 140, but there's still a couple that you can find it at minus 115.
Right?
Yeah.
How is it minus 115 out there? When I found that, I was like, I'm hitting that hard.
Yeah, no, I'm on that one 100%. I think it's a great one to include if you want to try do like a three-way same game parlay as well. But I do like the 49ers to cover the 1.5. It's a spot where Kyle Shanahan historically has dominated Sean McVay. He was 6-0 against him in regular season games up until the playoff game where McVay ended up winning 20-17 to go on to the Super Bowl. And this is just not the same Rams team that I saw from a year ago. Just nothing. It doesn't seem like everything has clicked yet. Yeah. And I do expect a bounce back performance out of San Francisco. Their defense forced 10 punts out of Denver, and the Broncos became the first team since 2016, Joe, to punt 10 times and win a game. And that crushed. I had a 14 parlay with the 49ers money line as the final one. And I was trying to cash out early. Book wouldn't let me and ended up getting, and that one ended up slipping away. So I expect a better performance out of San Francisco tonight. So the two that I like for sure, 49ers minus 1.5, probably will lean towards the total at over 42.5 as well. And certainly, as we just talked about, the Matthew Stafford interception over 0.5 at minus 115.
I absolutely love it. It's going to be a great night of Monday football. You watching at home tonight, Ben?
I will be watching at home. Yeah, got the setup going on over here. I'll probably make dinner for my two young boys and then get them to bed, and then I'll probably tune in live maybe at the start of the second quarter or so.
I almost thought you were going to say get them to bed, and then I was like, oh no, he said bed. So
don't give me any ideas. I occasionally, just to try to find ways to make make a little bit of Football Sunday a little bit more interesting, I'll say, all right, do you think he's going to throw a touchdown here? Do you think he's going to are they going to run it or are they going to throw it? So we're starting, but not to the point where it's dangerous just yet.
I love it, Ben. What have you got going on this week with Minute Media?
Yeah, so BetSided is always going to be going through the entire slate of games. We'll have multiple previews, especially as the odds update over the course of the week. We have a lot of stuff for college football too. Our insider Reed Wallach has a weekly show called the Early Read, which you can find on YouTube every Tuesday. And then, of course, we have our daily show as well, Daily Bet Slip with host Ian McMillan, fellow Canadian, I should mention as well. Ian is hosting that show every day, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, brings on a lot of different guests. We have a lot of fun with that. Go through some future plays as well, especially heading into tonight for Monday Night Football. And then, if you're looking for a little basketball action, the NBA is a couple weeks away. Our Peter Dewey has been great with a lot of his insight and analysis there. So the team is all set. We got plenty on the board this week, and especially with hockey and basketball starting up in the next couple of weeks, we'll be diving into that too, as well as the postseason for Major League Baseball.
It definitely is the most wonderful time of the year in sports right away here. Ben, it was a pleasure having you here today. Where can people find you on social media?
They can find me at Benny Heiss, BennyHeis on Twitter. And then also definitely give BetSided a follow as well, at BetSided on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok as well. I can't promise that I'll be making plenty of appearances on TikTok. Like I said, I'm the old man of the group. I'm still trying to learn it a little bit more, but the content there is fantastic as well.
We will all be waiting to see what TikTok stuff that you come out with, Ben. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll have to do it again soon. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.